When we talk of this finance bill, remember finance bill now is in the House, of course, for purposes of what here? Deliberations. Of course, there is public participation, etc. Before it comes, it becomes law. Before it changes from a bill to an act, there is that process of public participation. There is the process of it being debated and, of course, adopted now by Parliament. All right. Now, I've gone through the act or the bill, yeah, and there are a few amendments that we would want to propose to our great house, of course, as Aura and Co. For those of you who do not know this Mwalimu here, my name is Dr. Joshua Aura. I'm the principal of RCM College, and I'm also the managing partner of Aura and Co, a firm of certified public accountants. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would want to start with what has impressed me in this Finance Bill 2025. And as I told you, we shall be here for at most 20 minutes because I'm going to break down the entire discussion into two. We have VAT. I'll not be talking about VAT today. I would want to do VAT tomorrow. So today I'll be able to talk about these other taxes and the general tax administration. All right. So then the thing that has impressed me most, and I pray that this government shall be able to bring this to fruition, is this. Incentivization for investments over Kenya shillings 3 billion. That if these foreign companies from outside there come to Kenya with over 3 billion Kenya shillings, the government is looking at them in a good way to give them a lot of incentives. Yeah, so basically we are trying to attract what we call foreign direct investments, FDIs. So the first advantage is that there shall be reduced corporate income tax rates for NIFCA certified companies. NIFCA is the Nairobi International Financial Center Authority. So companies that shall be able to invest, of course, in Kenya, you should not be treated that it's only Nairobi, in Kenya, and they get, in this case here, what we call NIFCA certification, and the investment is more than 3 billion Kenya shillings, within the first 3 years of operation are eligible for reduced corporate income tax rates. To be precise, they shall enjoy a reduced 15% corporation tax for the first 10 years, which now shall increase a little bit by 5% to 20% for the subsequent 10 years. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who have ever followed this story of Dubai, how Dubai was able to have very special economic zones, very special areas that they called free ports. All right. Dubai was able to use this strategy for them to grow a country that earlier on was purely a desert. All right. If you go to Dubai today, I mean, these guys are miles ahead of us in terms of everything. You know, like them, by 2017, they had a ministry of artificial intelligence, 2017. And you can see in this case here, there are strides that Dubai has been able to make by adopting this AI quite early. Ladies and gentlemen, when you bring international investors into your country, receive them very well, and of course, allow them to grow within the country, then we expect a lot of infrastructural development. And this artificial intelligence, of course, is something that these guys will be able to come with. So, but now remember, it's not everybody. Just like in Dubai, it's not everybody who is given a tax preferential treatment. In this case here, if this bill sails through, and the government in this case here plays it like clean. You know, we don't want situations where we hear that there are investors who are coming on board and then they have to be told that you guys must grease somebody. No. If they play it clean, I'm so sure Kenya, especially Nairobi, it can easily be a financial hub. an investment destination preferred by so many people. Allow me to read something here. All right. Remember, there are conditions that to qualify, companies must meet additional criteria. If it's a holding company, then it must have at least 70% of senior management being Kenyan citizens, which is also very good. This is a very well thought out law, or rather proposed law. Establish regional headquarters in Kenya. Yes, you establish regional headquarters in Kenya with at least 60% of senior management being Kenyan citizens. These incentives aim to attract multinational firms and create jobs, enhancing Nairobi's status as a global financial hub. And then most importantly, just like what Dubai, basically they have borrowed this from Dubai's model. Yeah, dividends tax exemption. The bill proposes to exempt from tax dividends paid by companies certified by NIFCA, provided that the company reinvests at least Kenya shillings 250 million of its after-tax profits in Kenya during the year of income. Ladies and gentlemen, what they're telling us here is that these international investors, wealthy international investors who are coming to set base in Kenya here, should they make profits and they're willing to distribute these profits as dividends to the owners, then they shall be exempt from any withholding taxes. But there is a condition that out of these profits they are making, they must reinvest a minimum of 250 million Kenya shillings back here. Because the thing is, we need those companies to grow. What Kenya government would want to do is to fight against unemployment, which has really risen to some dangerous high levels. So the moment in this case here the moment we bring these people, they have been invested locally heavily, and of course they employ our people, what I'm able to foresee in the future. Because the government must get a way of recovering the lost opportunity in terms of corporation tax. What will happen in the future is that the payee, the individual tax now that we pay on our salaries shall be raised. Not this year, the coming year, all right, but in the very future. And still people will be very happy. Look at countries like Sweden. I mean, they're paying taxes, the personal taxes, the payee, over up to 50%. But because it's quite easy over there to get jobs, good jobs for that matter, then there is nobody really who feels sad with these high taxes. You will still get the happiness index being up there. So what do you think of this proposed law? Do you think in this case it can be beneficial? Yeah, if they bring this, plus also the lap set, you know the lap set, if you remember the concept of lap set, it's also built on this concept of what here, the Dubai model, all right? The Dubai model, if it gets into fruition, I'm so sure that it will be able to add on to foreign direct investments, which will be able to ensure that our young men and women get jobs. Because if we don't create these jobs for these Gen Zs, where shall we take them? These guys are so energetic. They are going to cause chaos here. All right. So pertaining this proposal, I would want to get your thoughts. Do you think this is really a well thought out bill? If no, what kind of suggestions would you want to recommend? Because I mean, this is still under public participation. Regarding this particular one, what kind of strengthening would you want to see? The ball is on your court. I would expect to be said that this is going to be discussive. We need to discuss because we need to come up with like one response as a RCM community, as a Aura and a company, CPA, one response that we shall be able to take to the Committee of Parliament. Tell them that we've gone through the bill. These are the pros, these are the cons. And this is what we're recommending that you should be able to do to even make this thing better. How I wish I would get in this case here, so many of you making contributions, but we shall overcome. We shall overcome. But what impresses me most is the fact that they are going even further to tell these multinationals, you can't just come and set up a base here. And then, of course, at the end of the day, you are giving your people only these senior positions. They're even putting a threshold. 60–70% shall be Kenyans, meaning that we shall also be able to partake of this great cake that is coming by. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not getting any responses from you, but then you would have to tell me whether we are together. Are we together somehow? Are we together somehow? Are we together somehow? Are you guys able to follow? All right, thank you so much. Now, what in this case you have seen most of these Gen Zs and people have gone through this particular bill are against is this data privacy proposal that now KRA will be a bigger brother, and now they expect to even get much more to know you as an individual, to know you as an individual. I mean, this is a kind of a disadvantage, but also when we look at it from a bigger scale, there is nothing wrong with it. Please listen. Listen. Okay, they're still working. Now, if you look at this data privacy and the KRA access to business information proposal, amendments to the Tax Procedures Act to grant KRA powers now to access business trade secrets. I don't know how they'll be able to get that. Customer data, personal records linked to business operations. Pros, it enhances KRA's ability to detect tax evasion and improve compliance. Supports tax enforcement in the digital economy. Improves accuracy of tax assessments by accessing real-time business data. Cons, violates the spirit of Kenya's Data Protection Act 2019, exposes sensitive business data to potential misuse or leaks. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that you have to recognize, Kenya is not your ordinary country. Actually, at times we cry when we see ourselves, in this case here, having some leaders who are not really thinking straight. Of course, some leaders are good, but there are leaders in this case here who are thinking of what? Here, just theft and theft and theft. Yeah, but just generally, for those of you who have traveled far and wide, they'll be able to tell you that Kenya is really a country on the move. And if you see and the benchmark, Kenya now vis-a-vis some great countries that are also having the economies growing, all right? Having very, very bright people, all right? You'll be able to realize that those countries, ladies and gentlemen, like Singapore, which one point was at the same level with Kenya, those guys in terms of tax collection, they are always up there. Sweden, they are up there, all right? They have systems that are really integrated. Their revenue authority systems are really integrated with businesses. And that is where we are headed towards as a country. These e-teams that you guys are seeing over here is a huge thing. I'm telling you, in the next 2 years, you shall not even be filing returns. Just like most of those advanced countries, you shall have, in this case here, everything automatically populated at KRA in a way that KRA, by the end of the year, they will actually make a P&L for you. If there will be any adjustments, they will be very few. So when they do a P&L for you, you'll automatically be getting an invoice that you guys do what? We saw that you made a profit of $1 million. Give us what here? Give us 30% of that $1 million. So they invoice you. All right? So as much as we would want to fight this kind of a policy, all right, we shall be reaching there soon. Yeah, even currently it's happening. Right now, like I remember, there is some small assignment that I did for Ushuru Sacco. And then, of course, it was training over Excel, Ushuru Sacco staff. So they paid us, and of course, they withheld. All right. On withholding, like this, what happened? Immediately the following month, you get, in this case here, KRA telling you that, you did this job for this organization. So what does it mean? That now KRA is able to see all the suppliers of these entities. Last month, I sold some piece of land. Yeah, whenever I buy these pieces of land, ladies and gentlemen, I always believe that I buy them for business. I'm not that kind of a person who will hold on to land as if it's no. I buy like this. When I realize it has gotten some profit, now upon selling, straight away, I got, in this case here, an email from KRA. What were they telling me? That in this case here, we can see a stamp duty that has been paid. And now we expect you to pay capital gains tax of 15%, and they were giving me 7 days. Although now, of course, they took 15% of the government's value, the value that the government had been able to place on that land. So I told them, hey, no, I was able to do this and this development here. So you must be able to allow me to basically tell you the capital gain. Of course, we sorted out. What am I trying to bring up, ladies and gentlemen? Whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, KRA is already with us. They may have gone, in this case here, ahead of the law, because already this thing that they are proposing here, if you ask me, already KRA is ahead doing this. They're doing this. If you look at, for example, your banks in this case here, they are asking you for what? And they have started, like Equity Bank. That day I saw they closed some 2 companies of a friend of mine. Why? Because that friend of mine had not given a beneficial ownership letter. Who is the beneficial owner? All right. If you look at banks like we bank with this, our bank is, I'm forgetting a little bit. Yeah, they're asking for that beneficial owner certificate, and they're asking now for what your audited accounts. So if you look at what KRA has been doing, like for example, now they have come up with a system where all the suppliers now will be vetted. All right, so many suppliers in this case here will end up giving fake financial statements. So this, of course, will infringe onto our privacy, but trust you me, if it can be done like wholesale, whole scale, then they bring everybody, in this case here, to the tax-paying bracket, it will be good, because currently, who are funding the nation? A bigger percentage of people who are funding the nation today as we speak, they are people who are in the formal sector, the employees. If, ladies and gentlemen, why do we have people, for example, against these taxes? If I were the president today, I would be able to know where the problem is. It is because of people feel that when they pay these taxes at the end of the day, the tax does not get to be used in a way that benefits the common mwananchi. If in this case here, people were to feel that for sure this tax is coming to help us, we can see good roads, we can see so many good things. We are not only seeing, currently what is happening is that these politicians, most of them, they're doing great. So you get somebody who goes to be vetted, they're saying that our net worth is 500 million. But now the question is, can that 500 million they're talking about supported by the records at KRA? All right. So we would want a system that is transparent. If in this case here we were to do with this corruption, I'm 100% sure that there is nobody who will be having an issue of spying. Even if you're to spy now on my M-Pesa, etc., I could be wrong. But I'm trying to give you experiments because I'm widely traveled. I'm trying to give you information that you will be able to get even out there. Out there, things are quite straight. Because of the honesty in terms of tax usage, you'll even get somebody who does some business. Business which the government will not even be able to see whatever profit they have made. But you'll get a Mzungu who early morning goes to their revenue authority, tells them that I did this business that you guys are not aware of, and this is your portion. I don't know whether they shall be able to reach there in Africa, but now there is this recommendation. Should it go through, then we would expect now KRA to have their dip. Yeah, they'll be able to sync their spy equipment onto our privacies here. So then what I would expect, for me, I'm giving you information. What I would expect you to do through this public participation, you guys should be able to come up with like a memoranda and they say, this is bad, please don't do this, don't do this. But I can tell you for sure, whether you like it or not, already the veil is not there. The veil has been lifted. Right now, you are really so much exposed as a company and as an individual. All right. So can I go to something different, ladies and gentlemen? I believe you guys are able to follow. Yeah, return reviews and additional assessments, yes. Yeah, great. So I'm getting from Evelyn here that government should make use of this revenue they collect from citizens for the right purposes instead of pocketing. I feel this is the biggest challenge that we have in Kenya, yes. The moment that is addressed, you'll be surprised. People will faithfully pay their taxes. Because currently, even a grown-up, a parent will be able to make an argument. I've taken these children to school. I've been able to do this and this for them. And yet these guys are over 30 years, but still I have to support them. All right? If you look at countries like Sweden, ladies and gentlemen, once I give birth like this, it's like the government takes over everything, medical, schools, up to university. All right? So that even if the government now takes like 50% of my money as tax, then I know the 50% that I'm left with, ladies and gentlemen, will be for purposes of what here? For my, food and savings. Over there, the structures are very, very well defined. Of course, even them, they have their own share of challenges, but theft is not really, theft of public funds is not really one of their biggest worries. No, no. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that has been able to impress me most is on this bill. Yeah, on this bill, one thing that has been able to impress me most is on pensions and gratuity. Pensions and gratuity. Do you know what the proposal is under this finance bill on gratuity? On gratuity and the pension amount. Do you know what they're proposing? Great things for our senior citizens. Let me hear from you. What are they proposing? Remember, we are in this together. We say we are discussing this together, and I'm so sure some of you have already done some research. It can't get any better in terms of pensions and gratuities than what we have in this finance bill 2025. So I'm waiting to hear from you what is being proposed for our senior citizens. Yeah, but if you have been in a pension scheme for over 20 years, a registered pension scheme for over 20 years. Yeah. For example, you were lucky, you joined, say, Britain when you were 20 years old or when you were 25 years old. You have been with this pension scheme for a minimum of 20 years, then you can get your pension now, tax-free. You don't have to wait for retirement. Some of us, I'm telling you, shall be able to withdraw these monies before Ruto's government, in this case here, changes. Because, these things change very fast. I remember some people lost about 30% of their pension because of water tax. I would want to hear from you because I'm so sure you guys have read. There are 3 key things there. I want to hear this from you. what is being proposed under the finance bill regarding pension and the gratuity. Remember gratuity, very good. You'll get yourself, for example, you've signed a gratuity contract, say a 3-year gratuity contract. When 3 years are over, then you're given a gratuity. You know, gratuity comes from the word gratitude. We are grateful. You served us very well. Now you're giving you 500,000. So in that case, then what happens with this gratuity? I'm waiting to hear from you. I'm talking to accountants here. I'm talking to accountants here. And this I will not be able to answer because this is supposed to be a two-way discussion. A two-way discussion. Because I expect now some of you with this knowledge you're going to learn, after this becomes an act, when it becomes law, you start advising your parents. Yeah, that you can go and transfer that pension money and, for example, now buy, the monthly stipends. Yeah, first of all, get the entire money and transfer it to other investment vehicles. Yeah, is there anybody who is typing anything really? I'm just checking. I'm curious to see whether you guys are really trying to follow this. That is how you'll be able to understand it best. Otherwise, if I'm doing this session very well, which will be ending in the next 10 minutes. This is ending in the next 10 minutes. Ending this in the next 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm getting their tax exemptions on pension and the gratuity payments. I'm getting a very good response there. Tax exemptions on pension and gratuity payments. I'll still give you more time because I would want to hear this from you. What is happening on this space of gratuity and pensions here? Are we overcoming? Are we overcoming? What is being proposed there? So yes, although you're trying to inbox, I wish you would just put it here. In this case here, the Finance Bill 2025 is proposing a full tax exemption for all gratuity payments, regardless of whether they originate from public or private registered pension schemes. Yeah. I like that. Full tax exemption. Full tax exemption. Could we be having anybody, ladies and gentlemen, here who has been with a registered pension scheme like Britam CIC for more than 20 years? Anybody who could be with a registered pension scheme for more than 20 years? Yeah, great. So remember also for pension income now will be fully tax exempt. The bill is proposing a full exemption of pension income from taxation for both lump sum payments and the monthly disbursements. And of course, this again applies for those who are in public and the private sectors. So it could be NSSF, NSSF is registered there. We have Britain, we have CIC, and so many schemes which are registered. So please go and do more research on that. It will be very good to hear what you guys are going to say about that. Now, who is going to cry? Yeah. So we have in this case here preferential tax rates that we've been enjoying, which now are going. We had some sectors, ladies and gentlemen, that were enjoying 15% tax rates. For example, motor vehicle assemblers. They have been paying their corporation tax at 15%, not 30%. So that one, there is a proposal saying this one, no, go back to 30%. But again, if I were the president and the members of parliament, I will so seriously think about this because, we had so many now motor vehicle manufacturers that had already set assembly plants in Nairobi, in Kenya, even in Thika here. And basically they came because of what are those tax preferential treatments. So when you just increase by another 15%, take it to 30%, of course you're looking at short-term gain. But there is an opportunity cost there. Those guys will either scale down their operations or they even close completely. If that happens, ladies and gentlemen, then for me, I'm looking at the jobs industry. That is where my interest is because I'm training so many youth. Yeah, I'm training so many youth here at RCM and of course other places, and I know the cry, I know the hassles they're going through. If there is anything we can do to increase investors here in Kenya, for these investors here to increase the operations in Kenya, the better. So that I will rethink. And then we also have another sector, this sector of affordable housing. There are few construction companies that have been enjoying big time. Yeah, construction companies that were in this affordable housing constructions who are doing more than 100 houses or apartments, 100 houses or apartments. Yeah, and of course with the express permission from the cabinet secretary in charge of housing. Those guys had a preferential 15% corporation tax. But now in this case here with the insight and maybe looking at what has been happening previously, the government is proposing to remove that 15% preferential corporation tax, and then they return it back to 30%. So I don't know whether that is very well aligned with Kenya Kwanza's manifesto of having 250,000 houses being done every, I don't know, but I see in this case here that they are disadvantaging them. They are disadvantaging them. All right. But of course, I know somebody who has been knowing this business for long. You see, somebody will do 100 houses. Then they apply for that 30%. But you see, the same construction companies are doing other ventures. They are onto roads. They are onto, very many things that they're doing. So you see, you can easily say that, because of this 100, let me have my entire tax dropping down to 15%. So that one, if you're in that industry, if you're an accountant working in that industry, please follow this up because now your tax calculations are going to be a little bit different. You must increase. Yeah, of course, the biggest disadvantage there is that we are going to discourage local manufacturing. Ladies and gentlemen, the other thing that makes me happy and I'll be able to share these notes with you is on this mortgage tax relief. Remember initially, like during our times, assuming you are getting 200,000, 200,000, yeah, as your salary, and you are paying a mortgage of, say, 1,000,000 Kenya shillings. Assuming out of this 1,000,000 Kenya shillings mortgage, you are paying installments of, say, 60,000 a month. Out of the 60,000, then 20,000, for example, is interest. So remember this 20,000, you are allowed to deduct it. Yeah, you are allowed to deduct this 20,000 from where? From your salary. So that the taxable salary, in this case here, reduced. All right. The government, of course, wanted to incentivize us to buy houses, to buy homes. Now there is a very, very good proposal that is coming up, which now says that this mortgage relief will not only apply to those who are buying already constructed homes. Yeah, like you will be buying an apartment or a home, all right? Now they're extending these to also, and I like this so much, to also cover those of us who will go to a bank, request this bank to give me a loan for self-construction. I construct my house from the very beginning to the very end. Then whatever interest you'll be paying for the mortgage that you borrowed, it will be a relief on you. A relief on you. I find that to be very interesting because I'm not that type of a person who is really into buying properties that have been built by others. Yeah, you'll get in this case here, somebody has built a very good property, but I mean, what materials did he use? Why is he even selling this house, especially those who are not in the house selling business at the very first place? There must be something wrong. I would rather be given money, and then, ladies and gentlemen, I construct my own home. Tastes and preferences, in this case here, withstanding. Looking at the type of materials, all right? And then at the end of the day, you give me an interest relief, a mortgage interest relief. Still the upper, was it 300,000? Yeah, the maximum relief per annum. Yeah, still that remains, but now they're opening a door for those of us who would want to do constructions on our own to also enjoy that mortgage interest relief. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm required to be in another meeting, which I'm actually late by about 4 minutes. I'll be doing an extension of this same talk tomorrow, the same time, where I'll be able to bring even more stuff. Otherwise, I would want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for having attended this session. It's my hope that you have enjoyed. Yeah, it's my hope that you have enjoyed. And now when you come tomorrow, I want you to get, this time around, the finance bill is not huge. The finance bill 2025 is not big. It's something that if you get, you can easily go through it very, very fast. And then you come up with your own interpretations. There is nobody in this world who has got a monopoly over knowledge. You'll be surprised I'll be able to learn from you. Yeah, I'll be able to learn from you. Otherwise, thank you very much. Please be blessed. And I should be able to say bye. I'm reading here, results, will they be released? 20th. 20th. Housing is the first scam. I can't qualify or afford to buy a house as a hustler, but I'm building affordable house for the rich to buy and resell. Don't worry. Caro, things will be working in Kenya very, very soon. Things will be working out for the better in Kenya here very, very soon. Trust you me. With this Gen Z fire, I'm telling you, many, many, many things will be made right. Trust you me. Otherwise, thank you so much for those who are looking for an audit firm. Yeah, for tax advisory, etc. Please look no further. We have here Aura and Paul. Yeah, we can represent you wherever, to whichever tribunal, and of course, under the tax laws, we are so sure of doing something good. What we normally tell our clients, ensure that your bookkeeping is right. Unfortunately, most of the people who call us, they call us when they have got no books at all. You get somebody who has done business for the last 10 years and has not been keeping any books. Anytime they feel like withdrawing, they simply go and withdraw and use. I mean, there is no record keeping. Please always keep your records very well. That can save you lots of trouble. That can save you lots of tax penalties. Yeah. And of course, for those who are looking for a reputable college, RCM College is yours. Give us a call today, 0793 555 000. Yeah, tax department, yes, you can get. Let's talk about that. I hope, Frida, you have my number. Thank you so much. Bye. See you tomorrow, same time.